Two parents put their child into the oven in order to kill her. Will they succeed, or will the girl be rescued in time? Stay tuned to learn the answers to these questions and more. This is Movie Bytes, and today we are going to be reviewing a movie called Case 39. Caution, spoilers ahead. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Enjoy. Emily Jenkins is a social worker living in Oregon who is assigned to investigate the family of Lilith Sullivan, a troubled 10-year-old whose school grades have declined due to an emotional rift with her parents, Edward and Margaret Sullivan. Emily suspects that the parents have been abusing Lilith for her lack of obedience and begins to investigate the family further, questioning Lilith about her parents and planning a visit at the family's home. When Lilith is interviewed by Emily's boss and is too intimidated to answer his questions honestly, Emily visits Lilith at her school and gives the girl her home phone number, telling her to call if she is being hurt or needs help. Her suspicion is later confirmed when Lilith calls Emily in the middle of the night, informing her that her parents are coming to kill her. With the help of Detective Mike Barron, Emily intercepts and captures Edward and Margaret before they can incinerate Lilith by trapping her in their home oven and gassing her alive. Lilith is originally going to be sent to the children's home, but she begs Emily to look after her instead, and with the agreement of the board, Emily is assigned to take care of Lilith until a suitable foster family comes along. 2 weeks after Lilith moves in with Emily, a boy named Diego, another one of Emily's cases, brutally murders his parents in the middle of the night, and Detective Barron informs Emily that somebody phoned Diego the night before the crime, and that the call originated from her home. As she is suspected of involvement in the incident, Lilith undergoes a psychiatric evaluation by Emily's best friend, Douglas Ames. However, during the session, Lilith asks Douglas what his fears are and begins to subtly threaten him by turning the questions around and beginning to evaluate him. Douglas conveys his discomfort to Emily and says that he will call a specialist in the morning to help with Lilith's evaluation. During the night, Douglas receives a strange phone call at his home. A mass of hornets, which Douglas had previously told Lilith that he was afraid of, begin to fly out of his body, and he grows hysterical and kills himself. After speaking to Diego and attending Douglas' funeral, Emily becomes more suspicious of Lilith than her parents and visits the asylum where Edward and Margaret are being kept under custody for their attempted murder of Lilith. Margaret is hysterical and unable to see visitors, but Edward reveals to her that Lilith is far from human and is actually a succubus-like demon who feeds on emotion, and is capable of causing deadly hallucinations based on her victims' fears. Their attempt to kill her had been an attempt to save themselves and others, and that she is now feeding off of Emily's kindness and goodness, and that Lilith will bleed her dry before moving on to her next victim. Edward also informs Emily that the only way to kill Lilith is to get her to sleep, which she rarely does. Shortly after Emily leaves the asylum, Margaret hallucinates that she is on fire and Edward is stabbed in the eye after attacking a fellow inmate who spoke to him in the voice of Lilith. After Detective Barron receives a strange phone call in his home from Lilith, he arms himself to help Emily. However, as he is on his way to Emily, Lilith makes him hallucinate that he is being attacked by dogs and he fatally shoots himself in the head with his shotgun. After realizing that her closest colleagues have been eliminated and that the rest of her cases will be next, Emily serves Lilith tea spiked with a sedative and waits for her to fall asleep. While Lilith is asleep, Emily douses her home in gasoline and sets it ablaze, hoping to kill Lilith. However, Lilith, upon discovering Emily's plot, escapes unharmed. A police officer offers to escort Emily and Lilith to a temporary place to sleep, but as Emily is following the police cars, she suddenly takes a different route. Driving recklessly and at a high speed, to scare Lilith, the girl forces Emily to relive her childhood memory of her mother driving fast in a rainstorm and a truck overturning in their path. Emily fights the memory, telling herself that it is not real, and the image fades, leaving Lilith herself confused that her illusions no longer scare Emily. Emily crashes through a gate and drives the car off a pier into a lake. As the car sinks, Emily struggles to lock Lilith, now in full demon form, in the trunk by folding the rear seats back against her and drowning her. Emily exits the car and swims away, but Lilith grabs her leg through a hole in the car's tail light section. Eventually Emily breaks free and Lilith lets go as the car continues to sink. Emily climbs back ashore and watches the water to assure she is really gone. The film ends with Emily smiling, relieved to finally be rid of Lilith. Thanks for watching.